All right, this is game two, the semifinals. You're one game behind, but at least you can start now.
Yeah, I get to start, and I won't be as greedy with my keep this time, I think. So it's all to the good.
Yeah, you've played the deck for, I think, the better part of 3 years now.
Something like that. It's like 2.5 years or 2 years or 3 years since one of Tobias Rössler came to me and told me I should break Highlander and showed me the banned list, and I was like, yeah, this should be possible. There's Oath not on there, Demonic Tutor, LED Will, all not on there. That should be breakable somehow.
Ooh, we actually see pretty good hands from both.
Oh
We
yeah,
see your hand is actually the combo itself with Oath the Druids and the Orchard. And we
yeah.
see Dion with Back to Basics, which is not your most favorite card, huh?
No, Back to Basics is probably one of his best cards against me. While it doesn't stop me from comboing directly, it makes it so that I cannot grind through his counter magic if my mana gets taxed that in that way. So that card is something I really don't want to see resolved,
Yeah,
especially out of time.
usually when your opponent plays control, you need a lot of turns to set up what you want to do, like play
Yeah,
all the cantrip effects, the tutor effects, getting something countered, trying the next one. But if you only have one shot because of the back to basics, that's pretty rough.
that's pretty rough. It's a pretty good backbreaker when he catches me tapped out or something like that. My hand also is, well, as you said, there's a combo in it with the Oath, and I also have a Lindul's Wall to either find backup, find protection for the Oath, or set up some other way, a nice turn in some other way.
Yeah,
So we both have
Lindus
very good hands. This should,
Lindus Ward is a very awkward card, very old, not really like a lot of text if you see it. So what does it really do?
well, basically what Lindul's Wall is, in spite of all the text, is another top deck tutor. What it really does is like you look at the top 5 cards of your library, put them back in any order, or pay a life, put those 5 cards on the bottom, and repeat the process with the next 5 cards. And once you're done choosing your 5 cards, you shuffle the rest of your library and put those 5 cards back in any order. Basically, what you usually do with it is to cast it during the end step, like a mystic. You would cast a mystical tutor and use it as a vampiric tutor to just find the perfect card for next turn. And sometimes it has a benefit that you know the next cards and can set up some series of plays, which works particularly well with cantrips.
So I'd imagine you would have played the Author Druids here if you wouldn't have drawn the dress?
Yeah, I probably would have jammed it. Like there aren't that many 1 mana answers for your opponents to have in Highlander, so I would probably have just gone with this Author Druids, especially because I have the Limnul's Ward backup. But
Yeah.
given that I've drawn the Juris, my best plan here becomes to cast Limdul's Ward as a test ball end of turn, and if he lets it resolve, to just find a land so that I can push through the Oath of Druids, which should usually generate a win.
Right, and now you can even like look for a better setup because you only need a land. That's like your thing you want to find. You can also look a bit for other cards you want to draw after the lands.
Yeah, exactly. That it makes it really nice or really easy to be a little greedy here, because you can set up the Limdul's Wall. Because what I'm looking for is so easy to find. It's just a land. I can wait till I find some other good card with it, and just draw it with the Manamorphose,
So
or by just waiting another turn.
you found what you want to look in the first try of the card, and it is a fetch land. And now we see you, yeah, casting the Metamorphosis, which
draws the next card, which I also know what it is, and I also
yeah,
know what that card is. So
because you know you want to use the fetch land this turn to cast the Duras and the Oath of Druids.
exactly.
You want to keep the next card also.
And given that the next card is a demonic tutor, that makes a lot of sense. It's like one of the 2 key cards you try to assemble every game: Lion's Eye Diamond, Demonic Tutor. Because the 2 together mostly combo on their own.
So now you also see the hand we already know, the back to basics, into the royal, Thassa and Factor Fiction. Probably not very impressive in this game.
Yeah, this does not look like, it's not a hand I'm actually very scared of now that I get to take the back to basics. Like, he doesn't have any counter magic. Sure, he can mess with the Oath for a turn with the Echoing Truth, with the into the Royal, but he's not. If he does that, he's not actually playing anything, and he doesn't have any counter magic. So even if he manages to handle the Oath, I should be fine to win with the tutor in my hand.
Yeah, right. On this spot, it's more annoying than really bad. So if your opponent draws like a random creature or a land, you should be very favorable to win this game.
Exactly. It becomes really tough if the next thing is counter magic, and he can just stop the oath from coming back down after bouncing it, or something along those lines. But other than that, I should usually be fine.
And of course, now that you know that the way is clear, you can just play Oath, know that it gets probably back to your hand because while Grizzaband is not the nicest thing to face, and then play it again.
Exactly. That's my plan at that point.
And even if it doesn't work, the Demonic Tutor and the Helm of Awakening is a nice setup. I like your chance here.
I really like the position at that point too. It's like the Oath of Druids is so powerful because you don't actually have to play a full combo deck, but it's once you have it in play, like Grizzlebrand just is a good beatdown machine, and if you actually have to go combo, it mills most of your deck, so the important stuff is already in the graveyard to get willed back.
Ooh. The draw step brings a Cryptic Command, which doesn't do something now, but next turn it can actually do something against Grizzlebrand and the spell you're playing. That's insane.
That's pretty powerful there. Like I kind of would that cryptic command can very easily blow me out here.
Yeah.
It really depends on what Grizzlebrand what is milled over by the oath activation and how Grizzlebrand behaves.
Well, we know that Grizzlebrand is a naughty, naughty boy. So you play this Chasm Skulker, which is nice because it grows over time. So even if you don't really do much, at least doing nothing gives it more counters.
Yeah.
And yeah, right now the third token actually does hurt from the Oath of Druid.
Yeah, thanks to my Archer, Dion has a really good clock in play at this point, which is kind of sad, but you need to play the land if you play Oath, just because there are people who don't put creatures into play. So
yeah, and usually you only want to do one token, but
yeah, don't really want to get beaten down for 5 return.
Also, what is a bit annoying, the Chasm Skulker produce Island War creatures. So maybe that's going to be relevant. So now we see the
Xenos activation going down. And that was the will, that was the force of will. That is very important. Like as I said, it's very important what counter magic I hit, because the more counter magic I hit, the more limited my ability to just play defense with Grizzlebrand starts to become.
Yeah, we saw the Past in Flames, which you were very happy to go into the graveyard.
Yeah, that basically makes it so that I only need to find mana to be able to win.
Oh, and the more cards you mill, the more resources you have once you play those cards.
Yeah, exactly. Like my deck is already built around the idea of reusing its graveyard, so that was the tendrils. So putting stuff into your graveyard is actually pretty good.
I also saw Grape Shot. We know that you kill preferably with Tendrils of Agony, but the Grape Shot is also an option to kill, or more of a removal spell?
No, the Grape Shot is a backup kill condition. Just it's pretty difficult to get to work, just because Storm 20 is a lot.
Yeah.
But there is this tiny card called Tainted Pact that exiles cards from your library that you don't want to always have to stop on Tendrils if your hand is otherwise insane and you just need to find a tutor for the will.
All right. After what seems to be at least 60 cards, we found Grizzlebrand.
Yes. And, well, that's a big pile of cards that at this point should be in my graveyard because there's an oath. And I briefly considered just going through them and trying to figure out what I actually still have left in my deck. But in Highlander, that's really difficult just because your deck size is so large and everything is there only once.
Yeah, you can see
I decided to simply move on with the game for a bit.
Okay, you're also usually the guy that like spreads out the graveyard, so you see every card at least from the text, and now you see like, come on, I just put it on my graveyard.
I usually set my graveyard up so that I can see what's in there, but it's a little large for that now.
This is my graveyard zone. Deal with it. And now you actually have to know what's in there.
Right? Yeah, I just need to I especially need to know what's in there. So because I have a demonic tutor in hand, so I need to know what is in my deck. Like if I can just get a force of will here, I will probably just tutor for up a Force of Will and sit on Griselbrand plus backup, but Force of Will is in my graveyard. So the question is what I do here. I don't have protection yet, and I don't really want to go off into 4 untapped mana with 2 unknown cards in hand.
Yeah, and we all know protection is important.
So at this point, I'm just checking my graveyard and decide that I can't see any specific line of play that easily wins with the cards left in my deck from Demonic Tutor. So I want to check what I can brainstorm into. Like if I find a ritual, this becomes really easy because I can probably just flashback the Past in Flames. Or if I find a protection spell, the tutor finds something to flashback the Past in Flames. So I go to brainstorm here.
I think also the Kabar ritual should be still in your deck.
I'm not sure. I don't remember what exactly was in my deck at that point. So now Dion starts to think about my brainstorm, and I decide that as the cards all went to the graveyard for an Oath trigger, it should be. I usually am allowed to rearrange them. So Dion and I decide it's okay if I start going through them now, even though you can usually not change your graveyard order.
Yeah, because there are cards that actually counter that, right?
Yeah, that actually interact with it, like Nether Shadow, Ashen Ghoul, Phyrexian Furnace. All those cards care what your cards in your graveyard are like, so you're not usually allowed to rearrange them. But as those all go from an Oath trigger, it's not really a rules problem. It's just that would have had to happen on my upkeep, and I'm not allowed to just sit around for 5 minutes and sort my graveyard on upkeep.
So what you're basically doing is just saving time because Dion is thinking.
Exactly. I'm doing it while something else is happening in the game, or my opponent is actually doing something. The problem is, I would not suggest you do this because it's very confusing and very chaotic, as you can see. I mean, and we're in this point in the game where this is not supposed to happen.
Yeah, but like I guess that's just
don't try this at home.
Yeah. it's a bit case of out of order sequencing when you both know what's happening. And I mean, it's not that both of you really have cards that matter. So even though there could be a case,
it's more of a theoretical problem with the cards that count graveyard order than a real one. That's true.
So the question is now, should Dion counter this? And I don't think he wants to.
I think if you have Cryptic Command, Spell Snare up, you should probably just want to keep open the Cryptic Command until I do something more threatening than that Brainstorm. Especially if I'm this weirdly looking through my graveyard and trying to figure out what exactly my options are. It clearly means my hand isn't quite there yet, but might be very close.
Yeah, we see the Lightning Tutor, not really what you want. And the Chromox might be actually helpful because it is a mana for like 0 cost.
Yeah, I might maybe should have used Griselbrand here. The problem is if he has anything to solve the Griselbrand, like to draw 7. Problem is if he has anything to solve the Griselbrand, I'm dead. And as long as it's in play, he can't really attack. And to my knowledge, he doesn't have any way to get around that. So my plan at this point is to just sculpt this turn and then go off next turn while sitting behind Griselbrand or just beating down with Griselbrand.
Like your imagination of the game is that Dion wants to cast Factor Fiction because that's the card you know.
Exactly.
And you don't really want to die to the Factor Fiction when he finds something for the Griselbrand. What you don't know is that he actually has the Cryptic Command, which is probably the best card you can have in this spot.
Yeah, and given that I don't have any counter magic left in my deck, I can't actually find some way to protect Griselbrand, so I can't actually draw 7 and pass the turn. So I decide to just pass. Afterwards, like I think I'm doing something else here, but basically I'm setting the game up for the turn after and not this turn.
Yeah, because even if he plays something to kill your Griselbrand or to probably bounce it with the Cryptic Command, you're not dying on the very next turn.
Yeah,
so at least you get to see one more.
Yeah, so I get another turn. I have another turn to try and set up and find a hand that will actually win. So that's what I'll be going for.
And there's the Chromox. Probably exile the Enlightened Tutor because...
Yeah, that card is not very useful at this point.
Usually it's only there for Oath, or is there other cards?
Lineside Diamond is a very important card in the deck, and that's the other card it finds.
Or Squandered Resources for mana?
squandered resources sometimes happens, fast bond sometimes happens, but the two main targets are Lionside Diamond and Oath. That's basically and Sylvan Library is kind of common against the control decks. So as I said, I passed the turn. I plan on passing the turn here, so I try to bait a counter spell and reduce the clock by Toxic Deluging. That way I can just win with beating down with Grizzlebrand. But sadly, Dion has the Cryptic Command.
Yeah, which not only keeps the board alive, but yeah, returns to Grizzlebrand. And there's really only one space you don't want it in, and that's your hand.
Exactly. And now I will have to win next turn. Like at this point, I can probably Oath and just mill my deck, Memory's Journey back a will, and hope to win that way. The problem is with this Preordain Dion is casting now, he'll be keeping both his cards, which kind of tells me I can't just do that because he must have counter magic, otherwise he would have shipped them. Like, it can't just be a mind game.
There's no way of bluffing if you actually really want something that interacts.
Yeah, like if you can't bluff interaction here because I'm dead next turn, so I'm going for some way to get there.
Right.
And so I can't just Oath, try to flashback Memory's Journey and get that countered and be dead. Like that does not seem like a good plan here. I have a Demonic Tutor. I can hopefully somehow find some way to make protection and to kill happen.
Funnily, if the Factor Fiction would draw cards, you would also be dead, because the Chasm Stalker would grow at least 3, but since it only puts in your hand.
Yeah, that interaction does luckily not. Well, I'm not sure if it's luckily, but it doesn't happen that way. It would be growing pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean, you have some potent combos with like Brainstorm or Treasure Cruise or something like that. That can grow pretty fast.
Yeah. Yeah, that thing can go out of control pretty rapidly.
And then even if you deal with it, you have the problems of the tokens most of the time. So now you're just counting, I have a Demonic Tutor. I probably lose against most of the stuff my opponent can do against me. So
I just have to try.
Yeah, what's the best line now? And
well, the Helm's Awakening produces additional mana, so I'm going with that first. And hopefully the tutor can find some mana source. And I just have to hope that the Preordain was a bluff, because with the hand as it is, I clearly can't beat protection, so I have to just try.
Yeah, or maybe find something like, I don't know, a Mental Misstep or something that he probably keeps on average, because it might do something.
Yeah, some counter that doesn't actually work would be nice here.
But now we see you playing the Demonic Tutor for only 1 mana left, and
yeah, there shouldn't be anything. I can't think of anything that would win the game here. It's just I have a tutor, so I might as well play it and see if I can do something.
Yeah. Like yeah, I don't know. A Lineside Diamond would be good, but you can't really use it. So even if there would be one more. Okay, and that's game. Yeah, sad for you, good for Dion. He goes on to the finals.
Yeah, at least it's an innovative deck winning, so I was fine with that. Like, this is the kind of strategy I was expecting people to adopt to be able to fight Storm better. So I'm happy to see that it worked.
All right. Thank you for the game, and we see you in the finals.
See you there.